flipping him.
Ah!
Oh.
It was majestic, honey.
Practically all the skilled workers of Venezuela. And with their housing and other benefits, they receive about as much as men doing identical jobs in the United States.
Well, figured a certain way, about as much.
Honey, it's just so glorious. You gotta get down here.
Employee relations policies are about the same, too. And oil companies here operate under modern labor laws.
Again, for Venezuela.
I already feel at home in my job, even though I sometimes go to and from work in a boat.
I hope my humor isn't too pungent for you.
Sure, it's a different country, and I'm a foreigner here. But the Venezuelans have already made me feel welcome. All I have to do now is lick that language problem.
And Escobar here.
Dear Anne and the boys.
He said boys,
Here's
he
the
loves
latest
us.
news on our house.
Ready?
I've been looking over all the staff houses, and my favorite is the kind built high off the ground, to let the breeze under, and incidentally provide a wonderful open-air playroom. They're completely shuttered with aluminum to keep out the daytime heat.
I'm sorry, Ray.
I saw the interior of one house on Sunday when a Venezuelan employee invited me over. He's being transferred to a better job at Creole headquarters in Caracas, and I hope to get the house. His wife showed me all through.
It's Billy and Betty Barty.
No, I couldn't possibly take your wife.
Get ready to hang our artwork high on the wall.
All Venezuelans listen to mariachi bands all the
This
time.
one had 2 bedrooms. Some have more.
Some have less. It all works out. Everybody seems to get a bed.
This is the old workbench, as Ted says.
I guess I shouldn't complain to you, but he's never home. He's got another wife, and it's called petroleum.
Here's our ashtray. You'll probably get one of these, too.
We'll have to raise our coffee table to have any hope of fitting in.
I was pretty happy about the possibility, but it didn't work out. As luck would have it, the house has been assigned to another family who've been waiting some time, meanwhile living in one of the Quonset huts.
But I got a beer out of it.
And so that's how we happen to be moving into their Quonset hut on October 1st. I
Pile?
rushed right over to see it.
Yeah, how you doing, buddy? Never saw one of these dung heaps before. Get on in here.
Well, this is the living room. Nice, huh?
It's temporary housing, of course, but these people had fixed theirs up attractively. We can do the same while we're waiting for one of the permanent houses.
There's rats in the toilet. Gotta keep a book on the lid.
Sit down, honey.
It's like living in a B-52.
I found half of a dog under the floorboards.
I woke up once with a roach in my mouth.
We'll need just about everything we have at home, except the kitchen sink. So you better start packing.
The water works about an hour a day. I'd boil the hell out of it if I were you.
Be prepared for a heavy social life, too. Everything from bridge parties at home to sports at the club.
I donned my swimming trousers and took a relaxing dip.
My favorite spot is the pool, even though it's mighty lonely there without you. No fun at all, really.
Thank you, Mr. Eddie's father.
I have to go to confession.
Fortunately, she was the commandant's girl.
Swimming!
You asked about medical care.
Don't ask.
There's a Creole dispensary for both employees and dependents.
It's called Needle Park.
Do your worst.
Spock.
I've looked over the school, too. It's also maintained by the company. The principal is a North American, but education is in both English and Spanish. They try to make all the children bilingual. And Jeff will start learning Spanish in the 1st grade.
It is Jeff, isn't it?
Mike,
Sí, comandante.
¿qué hacen los niños? Los niños juegan. ¿Dónde juegan los niños? Los niños juegan en el patio.
Yeah, thanks, howdy doody.
Shirley, ¿con quién juegan los niños? Los niños juegan
No, forget it. Never mind. Thank you.
Okay, she knows Spanish. Next group.
Those kids made me feel a little ashamed of my Spanish, or lack of it.
You make me sick.
Everything I've described is inside the oil camp. The Creole is now trying to get away from the old idea of a company camp Eventually, they want their people to live in regular towns, where that's possible.
They killed all pets to prove they were serious.
I saw some results of this new policy when I visited Creole's refinery at Amway recently.
Why?
Just because.
We drove through the residential area, where many of the homes were built by private contractors, partially financed by the company. The houses are sold or rented to anyone, not just Creole employees. The worker is even helped with his down payment if he needs it. But after that, he and his family are on their own, just as in the United States.
I saw a nude midget circus.
Instead of company commissaries, they have privately operated shopping centers. Some of them started with loans from Creole. The idea of this community integration project is to make people independent, instead of having to look to the company for everything.
It's called Venezuelization.
It's an interesting new development. And speaking of new developments,
Anne, I'm being sent for a month's study of Spanish in Caracas. That's where I'll be writing from next.
Did he mention me at all?
I traveled to Caracas by air, of course, landing at Maiquetía, right on the shore of the Caribbean.
You?
Then we started up through the mountains, on one of the most remarkable highways in the world, the Autopista.
I'm joining the Shining Path.
Narrow, wide, narrow, narrow, wide.
I couldn't help but notice the dark sedan following us.
We entered the land time forgot. Dinosaurs roam freely.
We go to see corn.
It took us just 20 minutes to climb to 3,000 feet, the altitude of Caracas.
You?
Suddenly, we were in the city.
Shots rang out.
It's laid along a narrow valley just behind the coastal mountains.
Narrow? Did I say narrow? There I go again. The cab driver whirled on me. His eyes narrow. No, not narrow. No.
The downtown area is dominated by the Centro Simón Bolívar, a building development something like Radio City, except that superhighways go through it and under it.
And you can't get a good corned beef sandwich, and the live sex shows aren't that good. It's an inappropriate analogy, and I'm sorry.
I had the driver take me for a ride around the city.
I wasted company funds.
He showed me the new sections in the east, where just 10 years ago there were sugarcane and coffee plantations.
Then he showed me a butterfly knife.
Honey, I'm really sick of Venezuela. I want to come home. Shut off that crappy music and fly me home. I don't want to live in a Quonset hut. I don't want to learn Spanish anymore. Creole's really hard to work for.
Enough of the stupid buildings. Oh, what else?
They use a tremendous amount of color on the buildings, sometimes just to vary patterns.
Sometimes it's too much and I have to avert my eyes.
And sometimes for artistic effect. Giant mosaics, 6 to 10 stories high.
Are there.
Some of the residential areas are almost futuristic.
But they're not, because you realize it's not the future.
But others are so quiet and tranquil that you seem to be in another world.
But nothing is as nice as our Quonset hut.
I saw the Virgin. Oh, no, my mistake.
Klingon language camp is hard.
Since that first day, I've spent most of my time studying Spanish. I'm even writing this letter between classes. But tomorrow is Sunday, and I expect to see more of the city.
Maybe I'll have another Coke.
I've told you how modern much of Caracas is.
Well, scratch that.
Well, if the rest of the place is modern, they'll have to coin a new word for University City. Believe me, this is no ivy-covered campus.
So just wipe that thought out of your stupid
University
brain.
City is one of the impressive sights of Caracas. Another example of the prosperity oil has helped to bring to Venezuela.
Oil is a loving God.
Hey, nice parking job. Let's just key that car.
The sculpture Anteater with Onion Ring is located in the plaza.
Crazy South American art.
The university isn't tucked away by itself. It's part of the city. And it provides the city with many things, from medical care to a beautiful stadium for soccer and track, and another for baseball.
And one for parts.
The Caraqueños are especially proud of their low-rent housing projects.